A beaver lodge is ideal for showing how one can move, rotate, and scale an image to multi-channel texture a model. Let's create an albedo file that we can use to texture the beaver lodge. I'm going to use this picture of a beaver lodge. I've imported it into GIMP and removed the background, as previously described in my GIMP to Blender video series. I then created normal and roughness files using GIMP, again as previously described in my GIMP to Blender video series. I am going to use the beaver lodge picture as a reference image to model my beaver lodge. I'll open Blender 4.4.3 and import the picture on the x-axis. I want the beaver lodge to be about 10 to 12 feet high, that is, from the waterline. So I will switch to imperial measurement, add a cube, and set the z-axis to 24 feet. I'll then scale and move the reference image so that the beaver lodge is about 12 feet high above the waterline, and the bottom of the lodge sits on the x-axis, which will represent the waterline. I'll then duplicate the reference image and rotate the copy on the z-axis 90 degrees. The main portion of the beaver lodge is dome-shaped. I'll move the reference images so that the top of the dome aligns with the z-axis. Now I will add a plane and position it at the bottom of the cube. I'll scale it to x equals 80 feet and y equals 35 feet. This should be sufficient to extend the beaver lodge to the bottom of the pond. To mold the plane, I'll apply the subdivision surface modifier. Set the type to simple and the viewport level to 5 and select apply. Now with proportional editing turned on and in edit mode and vertex selection mode, I'll select a vertex near the center of the dome. Select the G key to move and the Z key to restrict the movement to the Z axis. I'll drag upwards on the Z-axis and adjust the radius to form the dome. Now I'll select a vertex to the right of the dome. Select the G key and the Z key and drag upwards, adjusting the radius. To flatten the edges of the plane, in edge selection mode, I'll use the Shift key plus the Option key and left mouse button to select all of the edges. Then select the S key, Z key, enter 0, and select the Enter key to flatten. In object mode, I'll smooth the mesh. Then I'll apply the transformations, Control key plus the A key, and select Rotate and Scale. Without doing this step, one will get some weird results when painting. I'll hide the reference images and rename the plane Beaver Lodge. Now I'll switch to the UV editing workspace and create a UV map using 32-bit. From top view, I'll unwrap the mesh using Project from View. Having created the model, applied the transformations, and unwrapped, we are now ready to multi-channel paint. I'll switch to the PBR Painter workspace, and in the outliner window in the upper left-hand corner, make sure the Beaver Lodge mesh is selected. In the Properties window on the right, I'll select New to create a new material and name it Beaver Lodge. With layers selected, I'll add a layer by selecting the layer icon. I'll call the layer Logs. For multi-channel painting, we need to select Multi-Paint as the layer type. I'll select OK to close the window. I like to switch from Refresh Material to Auto so that the workspace will automatically update as I work. Next, I'll select the Multi-Import icon. With the Multi-Paint layer, you get to choose the resolution you want to use to paint your mesh. I'm going to choose 2K, 2048 by 2048 pixels, and select OK. I'll import the textures, albedo, normal, and roughness. I'll adjust the brush size with the square bracket keys. With the right mouse button, I'll drag the stencil from the bottom left corner of the 3D viewport window. Scale with Shift plus the right mouse button. Rotate with Command plus the right mouse button. and begin texturing the Beaver Lodge. Holding down the Shift plus the Control keys while leftmost button clicking paints on all of the PBR material texture set maps. In this case, albedo, normal, and roughness. The albedo map is painted on while the leftmost button is held down. The normal and roughness maps are added when the leftmost button is released. If one does not hold down the Shift and Control keys, only the albedo map is painted. One can, of course, paint over the albedo texture with the Shift and Control keys held down, and the normal and roughness maps will be added. The mesh is flipped and rotated to complete the painting. The texture stencil is scaled, rotated, and positioned to achieve the desired result. I have programmed to rotate a mesh to the Option key and pan to the Option plus the Command keys. So for a mesh, leftmost button and dragging moves the mesh. Option and leftmost button dragging rotates the mesh, and Option plus Command and leftmost button dragging pans the mesh. Rightmost button dragging moves the stencil. Shift and rightmost button dragging scales the stencil, and Command and rightmost button dragging rotates the stencil. The brush size and strength can also be adjusted to paint the textures. Once finished, I'll switch to the normal channel and adjust the strength. And that's it. Multi-channel painting is best suited to application to non-geometric objects, things usually found in nature, such as this Beaver Lodge. But one can apply it to any model and even combine multi-channel painting with multi-channel texturing.